can really have an effect on where people are. And so little kids sometimes get left out from the special squads. Now, where is that going to happen? The luck of the draft happens also from the point of view that if you are actually drafted into a AFL team with a experienced good coach, you are less likely to be dropped off the list. You'll be picked by someone else. All right? So again, all of this happens. So people, all my golfers tell me luck doesn't exist. Amazing how many people say don't blame luck. Luck counts in a lot of stuff. Okay, there is a later one that only happened about 3 weeks ago where one of the golfers in the pro hit it into a bunker, hit the rake and came out and went in the hole. All right, it's a hole in one. And so when my golfers used to say, oh, I can't say it's luck. Luck happens in our life. We've already have to work out what can we do to influence luck or change it, except what we can. Now, I've also got to tell you, some kids, when I talk about parents and coaches, honestly, some people unluck into the worst parents in the world. And I'm now working down at William High School. When I used to teach down there, we knew what some parents were doing to their kids, all right? So I now go down there and I taught to kids about being unlucky. You can be unlucky and have parents who beat you. You can be unlucky who have parents, or you can have parents who were hurt, or, like things. All of this can happen. So once you understand that it's not your fault that what's happened to you, or it's not your fault how you're thinking at the moment or whatever, but we can now change that. You don't have to remember this, what you see, just because that happened to you or just because that's where it doesn't make it right, and it doesn't mean you can't change it. So it's a really important thing to understand. Sometimes you unluck. So one girl that I had, her dad used to put prisoners of war pictures on her room to show how thin she had to be. She had an eating disorder by the time she was 16. What do you expect is going to happen? And what we now know is, and we researched, which we only found out like 2 days ago, they're now finding out that it looks like dementia is actually much more likely to happen in people with really, so the BMI wasn't even anorexic level, was it?
No, it was only 20 and anorexic 15, 16.
So what they're thinking is, it's actually, you know how I said in a minute we'll stop, go and get something to eat, which we'll do straight after we do the luck one. What we actually know is the brain takes energy, lots of energy, to actually process stuff. So when you're sitting here, if you haven't had breakfast, your chance of remembering or processing is way lower, which is why in exams you should eat, by the way. You should always take in a couple of lollies and that, because it keeps the brain here to do this. So not only is that dad made that girl have anorexia, but he's actually could even have contributed, if we don't change it, to dementia later on. So I'm saying, when she comes and sees me, we then start working on all these other things, but her whole life had been around food, what you should or shouldn't eat and everything. And she's a really good player. But again, this is luck. It's not her fault. It's not her fault she got anorexia. 90% of people would be subjected to the same thing. So now, what do we do about it? All right, if you keep doing the same thing, you'll stay where you are. So what do we do differently? So all of this works as far as that goes. And then there's this guy. This guy he's won 2 green jackets. His name's Bubba Watson, all right? Now, it's really funny because when I went up to talk at Blackwood, I did a talk to the Blackwood Golf Club because they were losing members. And I did the adapt or die. And they've changed to 9-hole memberships. They've got all of this going, and it's actually going really well. And they actually listened and did something, which is a big thing, doing something. Well, 2 of the old blokes came up afterwards, and I used these guys, there's Bubba Watson, a whole lot, and they do a fun thing together with the golf boys, and they all sing and muck around. And they said, Jenny, none of them have ever won anything. Why would you put them up? I said, just watch. It was really good because Bubba Watson's now won 2 green jackets since then, and Ricky Fowler's won stuff. But again, they were looking for reasons why I'd be wrong, and I'll always look for reasons why I'll be wrong. But I'll actually go, these guys are on their way, and give them a chance. Well, this guy, he practices anything from anywhere. So in other words, at home, he practices, if he was here, he'd hit off the bridge, over the trees, onto the green. Then he'd hit off a chair, over the thing, under the cart, everything else like that. Because again, he goes, if I get in that, why wouldn't I have practiced in? And I watch all the golfers. We live opposite the Lionel golf course, and I work with golfers, and I go, why do you always practice off the middle of the fairway? They're always practicing on the nice green parts. I'm like, you should have half the golfers stuck in the rough half the time. That's what you should be pressing, because when you get stuck in it, then it's not a problem. It's like, I'm used to doing this. So again, he does that all the time. And this is his shot here. He's stuck on the green, and I pull it across. He's really close to. Okay. He's that close. He's that close to the green. He's taken out a wood. Now, if you know a wood's to go a long way on a golf course. So he's taken out a wood, and he's going to tell all the crowd to look out. Now, you need to look about. Oops. You need to look about. I'll show you. You need to look about there on the screen. This one. So watch the edge of the water over here, to the right of the flag. Sorry about the bloke who walks in front. To the edge of the water, to the right of the flag. Cross. Now that's not luck. People go, that's actually practice, because he actually mucks around doing that. So if Dr. Watson was living in a widow at Glenelg, there's a ninth with the, or 10th, I don't know what it is now, there's a whole lake in front of it. So not only would he practice going over it, he'd practice going along it and everything else like that. Because guess what? It's like shooting in netball. You know, everyone does things in the same way. I watch it and go, someone's doing something different. Wow, how good's this? All right?
You almost see it in the video when there's a commentary on the crowd or something, general feel that going, you bloody idiot, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Oh, and again, if you watch YouTube, start looking these people up, Bubba Watson, Richard. They do funny. Ben Crane told by a sports psychologist he was really boring. He does the most amazingly funny sort of, I'm in the now, and he has people beating him with things and everything. He parodies all the stuff, and he's really good. And again, this is actually half the fun stuff. So, it's not luck. And we're going to come back, and I'm going to show you that. Motivation. People do things for 3 reasons. You're here for 3 reasons. To either learn something, to get along. I'm learning something, I'm getting better. To get ahead. Sorry, to get ahead, learn something, getting better. To get along, I might meet someone new. Oh, look, nice people. And last one, why the hell am I here? Now, if you're not feeling great, that's one of the things a lot of young teenagers come, and all of a sudden getting an idea of, I've got people who support me. I know this. If this happens, my parents. Yes, I have times when I have to sit with young girls, and we know more than your parents do. So when they're doing this, we're not going to, you're just going to go, yeah, mum, dad, yeah, whatever. And like, I had one girl who cracked it a little bit when she lost a champion bowling thing. And her mum rings me and goes, she got annoyed. I said, well, how long did she go for? Oh, only 20 minutes after the game. She was really mad. And I'm like, it's normal. It's okay. It's amazing how many people, and she's good and she didn't crack up by throwing things or anything. She was just dark. And guess what? If you've actually worked really hard and you don't get there, it's okay to be a bit about it. And parents need to learn that that's actually a champion thing. It's normal. All right? So again, that's getting along, having your mates. That's all of us in America when we're having Easter over there, doing that with my friends. That's getting ahead. That's all the trophies, the things like that are in the cupboard. That's me putting millions of us doing our hip-hop. No, what was that? That's us doing a flash mob dance on show. All the kids that were in the flash mob dance with us. And it's hilarious because I'm the oldest one out there and get on really well with all these people. And people go, I've just had to stick up for your generation like you wouldn't believe. Are you sick of being told that your generation is all about you and everything? I sit there and go, you are no different to we were. When I was bored at school, we would actually be talking and writing in each other's books. Now they get on the phones. It's no different. If boring is boring, kids will find a way of any generation, and every adult tends to forget what they were like as kids. I had a parent that I was teaching his son, and he was one of the worst. He was at school with me, and he's complaining about his kids. All right, do you remember you at school? He went, and again, that's one of the things that old dogs often forget what young dogs were like. But generations, when people, if you hear anyone go, this generation or Generation Z are all this, you say there is no research to it. There is none. So I had a young filmmaker woman that I spent 3 hours with last week of my time, which I do because guess what? We've got to change the world somehow. She's making a film on generations. So I've had to sit down and go through all this. She's now changing it. to actually what motivates and what we can do, and how maybe we need to talk to people. I sit in university lectures. They are so boring. They give me the shits. They spend no time, and then they go, kids won't come. And I'm like, of course they don't, because it's not compulsory anymore. And we wouldn't have gone if it wasn't compulsory when we were that age, if the lecturers were that bad. And as young people at uni, if you're at uni, have you got good teachers and bad teachers? Yes. Have you got good teachers and bad? You're not stupid. After a while, you start to go, oh, this one makes it interesting. Oh, this one is so hard and it's so boring. And the trouble is, you luck into those. Most kids, I was really bad at Sacred Heart. I used to say to Sacred Heart kids, you're lucky you're in class. And some of the boys would go, never have to tell anyone off. If you don't want to be in this class, I'll find another class for you. And I wouldn't be in my class. I couldn't have changed them anyway, but they didn't know that. All right? You know, like smart teachers, how respect is what counts. So young people are no different. So don't put up with being told that you're not respectful, not this, not that. You are no different to everyone else. It's personality based, not generation based. Okay, so, and this one, and then we'll go and get a cup of tea or something.
Hey, I'm Dave with the Jellyvision Lab, and today we're going to talk about changing behavior. Whether we know it or not, most of us are in the business of changing somebody else's behavior. If you're in marketing, you're trying to get somebody to buy a product or solution. If you're in benefits communication, you're trying to get somebody to sign up for the health insurance plan that's right for them. If you're in charge of your company's training and safety, you're trying to get your employees to, I don't know, quit forklift jousting in the warehouse. Most of us are in the business of changing somebody else's behavior.
Or your own behavior.
Changing somebody else's behavior is a really hard thing to do.
Or your own behavior.
A lot of very smart people spend a lot of time studying behavior change, and one of those very smart people is B.J. Fogg. B.J. Fogg founded the Persuasive Technology Lab at Stanford University, and he found that it takes 3 things to get somebody to change their behavior. 1, motivation. Somebody has to actually want to make the behavior change. 2, trigger. There has to be some sort of event or piece of communication that triggers the person to make the change in that moment. And 3, ability. Making the